The Poimandres is a fundamental text of the Corpus Hermeticum attributed to Hermes Trismegistus. In it, Poimandres, who personifies the divine mind, reveals to the narrator the nature of the cosmos, mind, soul, and the divine. The text addresses cosmogony, anthropogony, theurgy, moral philosophy, and gnosis, teaching that man can return to his divine origin through knowledge of the universal mind. It is a work that deeply influenced Hermetic philosophy, exploring the spiritual journey of the human soul. Poimandres represents the wisdom of the Supreme Creator, so Hermes introduces this text by initiating a conversation with the wisdom of the Supreme Creator, with the Supreme Creator himself as the one you will be able to reach. One day, Hermes, I pondered about beings. My mind soared high, and all my bodily senses were asleep, as if under the weight of a heavy sound, or like when one expects a large amount of food to have been consumed, or due to exhaustion. Then it seemed to me that before me stood a colossal being, beyond any measurable extent. This being called me by my name and inquired about what I desired to hear and contemplate, what I sought to learn and understand. So I asked, "Who are you?" And that being served me, saying it was the wisdom of the supreme authority, without which nothing can be desired, being present everywhere. With your instruction, I wish to be enlightened about beings, to understand their nature and know the Creator. Thus, I receive in my mind all that I wish to know, I replied. Poimandres responded, it with these words, immediately changed appearance. Everything was revealed to me in an indescribable manner. Everything turned into a serene and pleasant light that captivated my sight. Then dense darkness fell, dreadful and terrible, spreading in spirals resembling a serpent. Then it seemed to me that this darkness transformed into a moist substance, exhaling a smoke like that which comes from an oven and producing an indescribably icy sound. Suddenly, an inarticulate cry echoed, akin to the voice of fire, and a holy word, the Logos, descended from the light upon nature, launching from within it a spark towards the high heavens. This spark was subtle, penetrating, and active. The air, in its lightness, followed this flow from earth and water, carrying it to the fire, to which it seemed to offer assistance. Earth and water remained mixed, without it being possible to distinguish one from the other, and received the impulse of the breath of the word, or the verb, the Logos. Have you understood what this vision means? Poimandres asked. Hermes replied, Yes, I have understood, Poimandres. This light is me, I am the wisdom, I am the Creator, existing before the moisture of nature emerged from darkness, while the luminous word, the Logos, emanating from wisdom, is like a son of the Creator. And what do you mean by that? Hermes asked. Poimandres replied, Understand what you see and hear. The Logos is the word of the Creator, while wisdom is the Creator himself. For them, there is no separation, for their union is life. Hermes thanked, saying, I understand, Poimandres. You have enlightened me. I have learned to know. And so the words began. For a long time he looked at my face, and I trembled at the sight of his presence. However, I did not comprehend his arrival in my intellect, but the light and its countless powers, from which I saw the limitless universe arise and the fire, sustained by a mighty force, find its balance. This is what happened, said Poimandres, from my words. Taken aback, Hermes asked, Where did the elements of nature come from? Poimandres replied, From the will of the Creator, who, having assumed the word, the Logos, and contemplated the beautiful archetypal world, built the universe according to this model, with elements taken from himself and with seeds of souls. Wisdom, the Creator, being both masculine and feminine, existing as life and light, generated, by the word, another creative wisdom, unique in itself. The divine of the flame and the liquid, which in turn established 7 directors or regions who encircled the tangible world, governing amidst what we call destiny, and soon the expression or word of the divine projected itself from the lower elements to this pure region of nature that had just been formed and joined with the creative intelligence. The peril, as it was essential to it, the lower elements of nature were left in a state of simple substance devoid of reason. However, the creative intelligence, the demiurge, together with the Logos verb, while encircling the circles and imprinting a quick turn, set in motion the circular movement of its creatures, allowing them to perform their revolutions from the undetermined beginning to a final point, because everything ends where it begins, and this rotation of the circles by the will of intelligence produced from the lower elements animals without rationality, as they no longer possessed the word with them. The air produced those that fly, the water those that swim the land and the water were separated from each other by the will of intelligence, and the earth caused to emerge from its bowels animals that it contained, quadrupeds, reptiles, wild and domestic animals. However, the progenitor intelligence of all things being life and light generated a human being similar to itself and love as its own child. Since the human being was very good, he reproduced the image of his progenitor, so that in truth the divine loved its own form and delivered to it all its creatures. And yet the human being, when he perceived the creation that the Creator had produced in the fire, also desired to create a work, and with the permission of the progenitor to do so, having entered the sphere of creation, perceived the creations of his brothers the regents, and obtained the power of each of them, because they liked him, and each gave him a portion of their government. Then, having learned to know their essence and having begun to participate in their nature, he wanted to surpass the limit of the periphery sweet children, and to know the power of the one who rules over good than the human being who had full power over the world of mortal beings and irrational animals, bowed through the strong barrier of the circle, surpassing the limits of these, and made the inferior nature by the beautiful image of the divine. And when nature saw in him a magnificent and inexhaustible beauty, and all the energies of the seven regents united to that form of divine, smiled with love, because it saw the wonderfully beautiful form of the human being openly reflected in the water and its shadow on the earth, and he, perceiving in the water the reflection of his own form, fell in love with it and wanted to dwell in it from the moment he desired. So he did, and came to dwell in the form endowed with reason. Then nature seized its lover and enveloped him completely, and they united in one. Is why among all beings living on the earth the human being is the only doubly mortal by body and immortal by his own essence. Although he is immortal and has power over all things, he submitted to the destiny that governs what is mortal, with that even though he is superior to the spheres of the world, he was trapped in his plot, despite being male and female like his progenitor, and superior to the sun for coming from unhappy within sleep yet, and was dominated by passion. And the sun is, and what comes after that my intellect, for it is true this story enchants me. Poimandres answers, what shall I tell you? The mystery that has been kept hidden until this day. Nature, having united for love to human being, produced the most amazing of wonders. As I told you, the human being had initiated the nature of the meeting of the seven regents, and was composed of air and fire. Then nature could not contain itself, and produced seven human beings corresponding in the natures of the seven regents, at the same time male and female, and of a very high order. Poimandres continues, my desire to hear you has become even greater. Poimandres answers, then be silent, for I have not yet finished the first part of the speech. I am silent. Poimandres continues, as I was saying, the generation of these seven human beings occurred as follows. The earth was feminine, the water was the generating element, the fire provided heat, the air provided the breath, and nature produced the bodies according to the form of the human being. As for the human being, of the life and light of which he was constituted, turned into soul, the psyche of intelligence. In this manner, existence turned into essence, and some evolved into minds, and all entities of the tangible world shall remain in this state until the end of a celestial revolution, when a new beginning will arise. And now, where is the conclusion of the discourse you wish to hear completed at this time? The bond that once united all things was undone by divine will, for all beings that were once close were separated into two, simultaneously with humans, thereby assuming male and female forms. Then God spoke with a sacred word, grow and multiply in great number, all my creations and works. And let those endowed with discernment know they are immortal, understanding that the cause of death is attachment to the body. Let them know all entities, for it is I, God, who speaks thus through providence, through destiny and the movements of spheres, uniting couples and ensuring the continuity of generations. All entities multiplied according to their nature, and those who knew themselves reached the supreme good. However, those who, deluded by desire, preferred matter, remained wandering in darkness and suffering the evils of mortality. Hermes asked, what then was the great failing committed by those in ignorance to be deprived of immortality, O Poimandres? It seems you have not understood, Poimandres replied. What did you hear? Did I not instruct you to listen attentively? I paid attention, I remember, and I thank you for continuing to clarify. And if you paid attention, said Hermes, then why do those in death deserve death? Hermes replied, because our individual body comes from the lugubrious darkness from which nature, in the tangible world, was formed. Do you understand well, Poimandres? Hermes continued. Yes, but why, as the word of God said, does one who knows themselves walk towards God? Hermes questioned. I replied, it is because the Father of all things, from whom humanity was born, is made of life and light, Poimandres. You have answered correctly, said God, the Father from whom humanity was born is light and life. Therefore, if humanity learns to recognize itself as made of life and light, which are the constituent elements of its true nature, then it will return to life. Hermes asked, what were the words of Poimandres? Poimandres replied, you taught me all things as I wish to hear, O intelligence. But tell me more about ascension, Hermes insisted. Poimandres replied, first, when the material body perishes, the human being surrenders this body to transformations. The visible form disappears and the habitual self surrenders to the demon. From then on, it becomes inactive and the senses return to their sources, from which they once again become part and mix with the energies of the world. While passions and desires return to the irrational nature, the human being ascends through the circles of spheres. In different regions, it abandons various powers and negative traits until reaching the 8th region, retaining only its own virtue or nature. There, it celebrates with the beings of that sphere, honoring the Creator, and then ascends towards God, becoming divine powers themselves. This is the bliss for those who have attained knowledge, becoming God. Well, what do you most desire to hear at this moment, now that you have received from me all the teachings? All that remains is for you to demonstrate the way, the worthy option thereof, so that God, through you, may save humanity. Having expressed this before me, rest with the powers, Hermes and I, declaring the Father of all things, giving thanks I rose after having been invested with power, after having been instructed about the nature of all things and having had the supreme vision. I then began to teach humans the beauty of religious devotion and knowledge, humans born of the earth immersed in drunkenness, in ignorance of God. Shake off your torpor and sensuality and awaken to the dissemination of growth. They listened to me and gathered around me. Then, I said to them, why do humans born of the earth surrender to death, if they have the ability to attain immortality? Return to the light, even you who have walked in error and chosen ignorance as your companion. Turn away from the dark and corrupt path. Some of them turned away from me, for they were committed to the path of love, but others threw themselves at my feet, seeking to be taught. So I rose and became a guide to humanity, teaching them the doctrine and the means by which they would attain salvation. I sowed in them the words of wisdom, and they were nourished with the water of immortality. When night fell and the last rays of sunlight began to disappear, I invited them to give thanks to God. And when they had completed their thanksgiving, they returned to their homes to sleep in their own world. I remembered in my heart the blessings and rested in extreme happiness for having been filled with what I desired. The sleep of my body produced the lucidity of the soul, the closing of my eyes produced true vision, my silence contained goodness within it, and the expression of words was a generation of good things. All this happened to me because of what I received from my intelligence, namely, Poimandres, the word of the absolute sovereign. And here I am, filled with the inflation or inspiration of truth. Therefore, with all my soul and all my strength, I offer this hymn of praise to God the Father. The Holy One, the Father of all things, is God, whose will is accomplished through his powers. Holy is God, who desires to be known and is known by those who belong to him. You are holy, you who constitute all things. With 2 words you are holy. You from whom all nature is the image, you are holy. You who were not formed by nature, you are holy. You who are stronger than all, the power, you are holy and greater than all majesty, you are holy and beyond all praise. The port that is synesthesia lives ineffably, whose name only silence can name. Accept the pure offerings of my words, spoken from a soul and a heart that turn completely to you, and do not let the misunderstanding of diagnosis, the knowledge of our essence, of my strength, obscure this illuminated grace. And those who are in ignorance, my brothers, your children, believe in you and render homage to you. I address life and light, blessed are you, O Father, the human who belongs to you, wants to assist you in your work of sanctification. I have full power to do this. I conclude here the reading of chapter 1, beautiful and profound. I hope you can absorb these words of wisdom from Hermes Trismegistus. I believe that the deepest thing is to seize this moment and be willing to hear it again. If this is your desire, understand, Hermes is speaking directly to the Creator, offering thanks to the Creator. This last part is a profound prayer that can touch your soul, as it has touched mine, and can uplift your days in an immeasurable way, in a way that we may not fully comprehend. Therefore, it is important that you truly connect with this frequency and vibration. I deliver all this to you with much care, with much love, and I hope you are in peace, health, and harmony, in full prosperity and abundance. May Hermes' teachings deeply touch your heart.